Today we're out here on a pre-drywall inspection, and I don't know if you remember, but Tony and Jenny, we did a tour of Colusa and Esplanade and Azario, and they ended up choosing the Colusa neighborhood. So we've got a lot of construction going on out here in Colusa, and today I'm here with Hope Home Inspection Eric, and he's going to take us through what's going on for a pre-drywall home inspection.
So the bad part here is that the stucco is already installed. Typically, when I come out to pre-drywall, I really would like to see the house without stucco, because the biggest thing is every penetration, we want to make sure that it's sealed up tight before they put the stucco on, because that's how you can get water penetrations or even air leaking into the house, causing higher humidity levels, which then could lead to mold. So we definitely, pre-drywall really should come before stuccos. Your final walk is more the detail oriented. Your pre-drywall, this is where you're going to catch structural stuff, whether it's in the slab or in the block wall. The biggest thing is those penetrations that we talked about. We have a lot of issues. This is a moldy state. We have mold everywhere. We want to make sure that your house is nice and tight and protected. So catching those penetrations on the outside is what it really starts with, to make sure that we don't get that water and that air coming into the house. So
what is important for the consumer to know when you come out here to do this type of an inspection?
At the pre-drywall state, you can't really do too much outside other than the structural that I'm looking at, as well as the roof. The roof is dried in, which is good. So the dry-in method basically is that underlayment. That's what's really protecting your house. Your tile roofs that everyone's doing now, those are just for show. It's your underlayment that's what's really protecting you. So the fact that they have this already installed, I'm gonna fly my drone and make sure that all of those seams where those tape overlap, I wanna make sure that that's all nice and sealed and that there's no bubbles in the wrap and stuff like that. So that's what's really gonna catch us. Roof tiles at a final walk, if there's some broken ones, we can catch that, but we wanna make sure that the underlayment is nice and tight.
During the pandemic, we had a lot of problems with roof trusses getting mold on them because they sat out on the construction site for
we still do
3 or 4 months.
Yes.
And it got rainy and everything, and then they'd stick them up there, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God.
Yes. Coming from new construction, I know firsthand, moldy trusses, everyone's gonna have it. And it's just as simple as just wiping off the trusses. A lot of it is just dirt. Ascospores, just surface mold that can easily be wiped off. But if you let it sit there over time and it starts raining during construction and stuff like that, you're building that humidity up in the house and they will just blossom. It's just as simple as cleaning the trusses as they're installing them would save them thousands of dollars in remediation.
Interesting. So this is a very typical standard process for new home construction. There's a lot of debris around, but I think that some of the things that he's pointing out are very important. See how they have these holes sealed up? It's really good to have a good tight seal around all of these points that have any kind of openings in the block wall. They've done a good job of sealing all of these little points. And you see this right here. This is what they use. So this is just a furring strip, and that's what they're going to use to attach the drywall to the inside of the house so that it has a place to be able to be nailed or screwed to. And then you can see the beam of insulation foam up there at the very, very top, that orange beam. So they've got that all the way around the top where the roof truss meets the top of the block wall. Up there at the top where the roof truss comes to the block wall, there's a little strap that comes out and that's nailed to that roof truss. And what that does is that straps the roof to the block wall. And let me show you this on the outside. See where that tan part is on that block, and then this one here? Well, that means that this block, this whole course of block right here is filled with concrete, and then it goes up, and there's rebar that goes all the way down, and then the roof truss, the strap comes out of the top of the block wall, and then it's strapped to the roof. So that secures the roof all the way down to the ground. That's part of hurricane code, because the issue with hurricanes is that they would come and create a tremendous amount of pressure if a window blew out or something, and it would raise up the roof, and that's how the roofs would come out. So that's how the roof would come off the top of the house. So that's how they eliminated that. Now, that was building code that's been in Florida for quite some time, and that's one of the things that you have to have is the roof has to be tied to the structure. Now, they're building these homes with hurricane impact windows, so that is now a standard here in Colusa. They're doing all of these homes with the hurricane impact windows. And you can see that's the underlayment that he was talking about. That's what actually gives the roof the protection and the sealant from the outside water. And then as you can see over there, they're actually putting the tile on the roof, but that underlayment is already on there. So the tile just sheds the water. It's that underlayment that makes the big difference. From a county standpoint, you know, the county has to come out and do their own inspections. Mm-hmm. So you're looking for different things than what they look for?
Yeah, because we are not a code enforcement. We do know some codes, but, you know, typically we can't get involved with code enforcement and stuff like that. That's not what we're looking for. Right. You know, we're looking for major defects or structural issues that could come down the road. Some of those are code, that just happens to be, but we are not code enforcement. We rely on that on the county to do that and hopefully do their job right.
Now, all concrete cracks, there's no doubt about
Absolutely.
it. Absolutely. So where do you determine where a crack might be in a concrete that is
So typically
hazardous?
Coming from builder, I know typically is what it is most of the time as a builder will tell you if a crack is greater than 1/4 of an inch, meaning you can stick 2/4 inside of that, that is an issue. Or if it's displaced one side higher than the other with a 2 credit card test. Same with tiles. If you have 2 credit cards and the top one does not slide over, that is an issue, a structural issue possible that needs to be rectified. So, but most of the times it's just shrinkage cracks. So.
Now, this is also typically the time that a owner would come in here and get with the superintendent and say, hey, you know, we need to add an extra light here or an extra light there, because now is the time to do it with ease. If it's done after the drywall is put up, then it becomes much more difficult. I don't know if you can see this green tubing right here, but that is what's used to put the pest control insecticide inside the walls. So that goes all the way around the interior walls and also at the foundation level at the walls over there. And then they come in and put it to the little adapter on the outside of the house. And let's see if we can see the place where they actually put it in. Yep. That thing right there is where they actually come and hook up. That way the pest control person does not have to come inside the house to do the application. So you can see it comes in right there and then is distributed throughout the rest of the house. How's it looking over there? Looking good?
Looks really good, actually.
Good.
Really good.
So this right here will be the kitchen island. You can see what the base of that looks like. So the appliances will probably be over there along that wall. Matter of fact, here's the gas line right here, probably for the slide-in cooktop. Yep. And then there is the vent for the exhaust going up that way, and they exhaust that right out of the roof.
So the good thing about metal framing is obviously termites is number one. You protect yourself a lot better from termites. And then if there ever is water damage, you know, they may get a little bit of rusty, but the chances of mold growing are very unlikely. Bad part is, if you have kids, it will echo. It makes everything pretty much echo. With the wood framing, the wood tends to basically absorb a lot more of the sound versus the metal framing, everything echoes. So, and then just when you're trying to hang a TV, you do have to reinforce the wall prior to you hanging up a big TV nowadays.
So if you had the option and you could do it, would it behoove people to insulate the interior walls? Would that?
That would be, yes. I mean, if you have kids and you want a quieter house, absolutely. Interior walls is definitely helpful. So, but
I see very few of those. I
No.
see very few of those.
I just did a pre-drywall on a 2-story. It's a custom builder 2-story house downtown Sarasota where they're pretty much clearing all these ranch style houses and building these 2 stories. I mean, this thing is 2-story wood frame, tie downs, hurricane wise, it is awesome. And he has literally insulated all the interior walls and then spray foamed everything else. So, like, this is really nice. Going really good. I haven't even. So typically when I do drywall, I start from the bottom up. But I mean, so far, even some of these trusses, just glancing at them, they look pretty good so far. But we'll see as we move up.
He likes to make sure that those sliders are on track and they don't have any problems opening and closing. If they get put in with any kind of an angle, they bind. That right there will be the place where all the connectivity comes in for the internet, cable and everything. All the wires will come in, and then that gray pipe is the one that will come in from the street where they can feed in the incoming service line. So one of these things that we actually came across, this house is looking really good so far, but right up there at the top of where that pipe comes into the house, you can see a little bit of daylight shining through. So that really could be an issue. So tell us what we would want to make sure of and how that can actually affect something on down the road if it wasn't caught.
If it wasn't caught, obviously, then you have everything trickling down effect. Your insulation gets wet, so therefore it's done. Once insulation gets wet, it is inefficient at all. So trickling down, then you have all your drywall gets wet. Your cabinets get wet, your lower cabinet gets wet. You have the potential of then even obviously frying out your exhaust vent or even your cooktop. But then to the repair is just a lot more extensive because then you would have to pull the cabinets, pull the countertop. And most of the times we all know these guys come in to do a repair, they're gonna break something. So pulling that countertop, if it snaps, well then you gotta replace the countertop and it doesn't match the island. So then you gotta do all new countertops. And it's a trickle effect, the domino effect that it just starts with one thing, but then ends up being a lot more things.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So that right there is one of the
thing.
good reasons why we do these inspections. Because that right there would pay for the entire inspection just to have that one issue caught. Now, I'm not saying that they wouldn't catch it, but if we point it out to them, then they know about it.
We guarantee that it is fixed.
Yeah.
And that the drama and the hassle of these guys coming into your house after you've already lived in it for months and trying to do all this work, it's just, yeah, you don't want that in your home, in your brand new home, that's for sure.
Yep.
So,
Good catch.
so this is a really good thing to have here. So this sticker basically indicates that for termites, subterranean termites, that the soil was actually treated prior to them building on this. So you have 2 options when it comes to new construction. Either the soil gets treated or you end up with those green Centricon stations. There's like 25 to 30 of them around your house. To me, I like this is way more effective. You know that your soil is actually treated. And I believe this sticker is good for 5 to 10 years from the builder. So a lot better from this than the actual bait stations. Bait station's still effective, but this is a really nice thing. And every electrical panel should have that, so. So here I'm looking at the electrical. This is really important. People don't realize, but these little penetrations where they've done the spray foam, if they don't spray foam that, when you're running your air conditioning, your house is gonna be under a negative pressure. So air is gonna honestly wanna come into your house as much as possible. If those holes aren't filled, you could end up basically sucking in attic air into your interior wall. And depending on how cold you like your house, you could then end up affected with a moldy wall because you got hot air being in a nice air conditioned space, you'll get mold. So we really want to make sure that all these penetrations up at the top are nice and sealed.
Well, especially here because we're in the garage, and the garage is not air conditioned.
Exactly.
And the other side of that wall is air conditioned.
Yep.
So you have a cold versus a hot, and then moisture forms on the inside of the wall, and then you get mold from
It's
the back
just science.
side.
Positive wants to go to negative at all times. So.
Yeah. So I came over here and I looked at this pressure gauge, and I thought that there was air in that line, but Eric tells me no, that's actually water pressure in
That
there.
is your water pressure. So when you're taking a shower, you want that nice hot water pressure blowing at you. Typically houses are around 60 to 65. The fact that this has 70 means that you're going to have nice high pressure water showers. So there's a couple different ways that you can basically wipe this stuff down. So most of it, like we talked about, is just surface. You know, you can literally wipe it. You see the dust particles falling off.
Hey, there's one other thing that we need to let you know about. We did do a mold test and it came back positive. These strips that are around the edges of the windows came back positive for mold, and so we have submitted that to the builder. Now, I don't care what builder it is here. They can't make that mold not grow there. But what they can do is make sure that it is caught and treated and taken care of before they put the sheetrock up. Because look, the sheetrock came in here just since we were out here a day or two ago doing the video on the pre-drywall inspection. So it's very important to also get a mold test done when you're doing the pre-drywall inspection, just so that you're not encapsulating that and making it an issue that's further on down the road.
If you take this with a wire brush, soap and water. With mold, the best thing is soap and water. Bleach does nothing for mold. It literally just bleaches it. So soap and water is your best bet. Some people are doing a mixture of vinegar and soap and water, but soap and water is always your best bet. But if you have it coming to the framing, there's a couple different options that construction will do. They'll either do a soda blast, which is literally like it is particles of soda blast. But the issue is that it's left everywhere. So you will have basically all that particle at the bottom, and then they got to blow it all out. The other thing is dry ice. They can basically, again, just sandblasting the surface of it with dry ice. Now with dry ice, there is no material left over afterwards. It all just dissipates. So a lot easier, a lot more expensive, but it can be done. So a third option is to paint it, which basically encapsulates it. The issue is if you paint it and it ever gets wet down the road, you get a roof leak, and that paint gets wet, that opens back up, and then you've just restarted the whole thing again. So, but there's always able to get it fixed now versus later. So that's why pre-drywall is essential. These are your furring strips. This is what your drywall is going to get attached to. And most of these, unfortunately, came in a pack, and I don't know where they sat, but they are all moldy. I mean, you can see some of the surface mold right here is just sat somewhere where it shouldn't have been.
So really, if we hadn't have done this inspection, they would have just drywalled over that.
Absolutely. And the effects, I mean, once, you know, the issue is they closed it up, it might be okay. But the minute this window leaks, you've opened up an environment for these guys that you've now given them water, a good food source. They're going to be nice and happy inside that wall.
Got it. Every time I do one of these new construction inspections at the drywall period, I always learn something new. And today, Eric from Hope Home Inspection comes from the building background. So he was actually a superintendent and a builder, and he and I were talking. He said, really, he said, all of these builders, it all comes down to the superintendent, the one that comes out here and walks the job every single day, sees what's going on, and manages the subs. So it doesn't matter who you're building with, it's really coming down to the superintendent and the subs, because they're the ones that are going to build the house, whether it's really good quality or maybe there's some things that are lacking that need to be addressed. So I think that that's really the most important thing, is the superintendent and the subs that you have on your particular job. This opening right here is going to be the exhaust for the tankless hot water heater, because you can see the power there. You'll have the water supply, well, that's the gas supply there, and then the water supply there. So the tankless hot water heater will go right there. And then the AC unit is going to be suspended. So you can see the Freon line right there hanging in midair. And then that up there will be your drain line for the AC, for the condensation line. And as you can see, that comes down, goes into the slab, and then it'll go out that side of the house. And that right there is where it'll come out, and they'll cut that off. That's where the outside unit will sit. Right there.
So here, I'm just literally gonna do a couple laps flying around this thing. And we're gonna really look close at the seams, like we talked about, as far as making sure that that tar is in good shape and we don't have any ripples in the fabric itself. So roof-wise, this is the best time to inspect it before the tiles have gone on.
In conclusion, we've done the video on the roof, so what did you find?
Roof is actually in really good shape. Overall, all of the tar is in really good shape. No bubbles or anything like that. Everything looks really, really good. So overall, I'd give this house an 8 or 9 out of 10. So
That's
really good shape.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So from this process now, how does the builder find out about the deficiencies we might have uncovered?
So I'm going to finish up this report, finalize it, and I'll get everybody's report by the end of the day. And they can simply forward on the email to the builder, and he can fix it in the next few days.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank Eric from Hope Home Inspections for coming out here today and letting me mic him up and get an idea of what we find when we're doing a new home construction. And if you have a willingness to come here to Lakewood Ranch and you're considering new construction, I'd be more than happy to help you out and make sure that you're included in these processes. Bart Bamick, Michael Saunders and Company.